everybody. EarlTheLogbook.com here for another round of Infinite Sheep. We are not even trying to stick to November sweeps as a theme any longer. This one is a 10-second train wreck that is still one of the funniest things I've ever put on tape. Allow me to explain. This goes back to the Fox 46 days, which I am convinced the older I get, the more I think about it, was like letting the lunatics run the asylum. And yet there was a broadcast license involved. That's the wonderful thing about it. So, the story behind this very, very short piece of video is that somebody sold a Toys R Us sponsorship for some piece of programming that it all happened on very short notice, and apparently part of the sale of this sponsorship was, hey, we'll take care of it. We'll get it done to the exacting standards of Toys R Us in-house. Okay. Well, that didn't happen. That couldn't happen. There is simply no way. So, meet Burchuss. Burchuss is a fiddygibber. I will have to explain this at a much later date as to why I can nonchalantly tell you that Burchuss is a fiddygibber, and expect that to be the full explanation. Burchuss is kind of my patron saint of video production. Burchuss has been with me for a very long time. And at the time that I had to put together this sponsor spot for Toys R Us, Burchuss was a prominent fixture at my home, which was at the other end of the block from the station. There were a little nest of apartments on the second floor of a building that also housed a bar called Old Town Grain and Feed. I lived in an apartment on the second story above a bar. And so all I had to do was leave the station, run over to my place, go in, pet some cats, grab Burchuss, bring him back, and stick him in front of a camera. And the result was something that, while I am sure Toys R Us expected Jeffrey the Giraffe to somehow be involved, instead it turned into this very quickly produced thing that consisted of a voiceover with a ton of reverb on it, a still photo of a Toys R Us store, and a picture of Burchuss. And if I remember correctly, the music was, I just grabbed it off of somebody's desk. I literally grabbed a CD at random off of somebody's desk, threw it in, played track one. Hey, that's our background music for this, 7 to 10 second spot. Just for giggles, as I was recording the voiceover, I tagged on a little something extra at the end. And that was really there just to blow off steam. That was just me being silly, because the whole thing was ridiculous. Yes, get this done in half an hour. We just now sold this, and we have to have this on the air in half an hour. And I also, visually, the spot is absolutely nothing special. It's like a very simple A-B switch between two still frames. The worst kind of animation. I mean, this is below Filmation standards. And yet, this, my friends, is what Toys R Us paid for.
Shop Toys R Us, the world's biggest toy store, where you'll always find lower prices and a bigger selection guaranteed. Thank you very much.
So, okay, so that last bit, thank you very much. That was not supposed to make it to air. That was just me goofing off. Because the whole thing was done, once the audio was laid down on tape, I went back and did an insert edit for the video, and I was just switching back and forth, on a keyboard between two still frames. And then went to black and then put one of them back up for thank you very much. And it was done. And it was done. When this was played back on air, apparently the operator did not catch on to the fact that last bit was not supposed to air. And so this is indeed how it ran at the beginning of whatever show Toys R Us was sponsoring.
Shop Toys R Us, the world's biggest toy store, where you'll always find lower prices and a bigger selection guaranteed. Thank you very much.
So, I never heard anything about it after that. I'm assuming we did invoice for that sponsorship and got paid. Whatever that brought in, $5 or something, I have no idea. But, yeah, that's the story of how Burchuss here temporarily replaced Jeffrey the Giraffe as the spokescreature for Toys R Us, at least locally. There is a lot more to Burchuss's story that I will tell you another time, because no conversation about a Fiddygibber can possibly be confined to 10 minutes. And you probably wouldn't believe it even if I tried to compress it into 10 minutes. So that being said, that right there is probably the dumbest thing I ever put on anyone's television screen. And that's quite a reach. That's quite a reach, because there's some serious competition for that particular entry, shall we say. And yet I think that definitely tops the list as being the dumbest thing I ever put on anyone's screen. And yet, here's the thing. Part of me is kind of like, okay, you know what? You hit me with half an hour's notice to put something together, and it's a paid thing, but you want, and it has to be put on tape and prepped. So, probably more like 20 minutes to put this together. You get what you get. A huge amount of respect for our sales staff, who were always out there, chasing every dime they could for our little low-power TV station. I do understand that's where my paycheck came from at the time. And, so mad respect there that they were able to seal that deal. But apparently no consideration was given to, a national chain store like that might want some kind of say in what their sponsor bumper looks like. But, for every broadcast salesperson I've ever worked for who's dumped something on me at the last minute like that, thank you very much.